Good evening all and welcome to Bombay Management Association's the series master classes. Last 5-6 months we have seen the master class by the eminent professors, and today we are going to have another master class by Professor Datta. We all are aware that last few months, due to pandemic, we had all been locked in our the houses, but now it is opening up, and now we can think of making some activities now in the face-to-face fashion. The festivities are on, and so I wish you all the great festival season which is coming up. Happy Vijayadashmi and the coming up Diwali, and welcome Dr. Datta, who is going to be the resource person for today's session. Professor Dr. Datta earned his first degree in plasma physics from the People's Friendship University of Russia in Moscow, MSc in marketing from Glamorgan University, UK, and PhD in marketing, University of Hertfordshire, UK. He is a fellow and member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, UK, and various professional bodies, including the British Academy of Management, the European Marketing Academy, and the European Association for the Political Economies Evolutionary. Currently, Dr. Datta holds the executive chair of Center for Business and Economic Research position and is an editor-in-chief of the Journal of Business and Retail Management Research, a senior lecturer in strategic marketing and leadership. He has worked as a consultant with a wide range of national and international organizations and designed appropriate marketing systems for various manufacturing and FMCG industries in Bangladesh, Cameroon, Ghana, India, Nepal, Nigeria, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, and the UK. Dr. Datta continues to work with a wide range of marketing and business sector, especially retail and marketing, providing in-depth knowledge of CRM, customer loyalty, trust and commitment, branding, and developing and implementing marketing strategies. Dr. Datta has published extensively in various international refereed journals and conferences, and several of his publications have received favorable attention from the business and management scholars. In 2019, his ongoing contribution towards his research organization was recognized in the USA by the US Congress, New York State Assembly, and the New York Small Business Service. His book, Relationship Marketing for Enhancing Customer Retention, is currently available in 5 languages. His recent book, We Are Doomed, Brexit Revisited, co-authored with Mark T. Jones and Anindya Dasgupta, is published in September and is available both in Kindle and paperback. He is a regular contributor to international academic conferences. He contributes regularly various business and higher education articles, prominent English language daily newspapers in Bangladesh. Such is the level of insight that he brings to the specialization areas that he has made several television appearances in UK and Bangladesh. A seasoned traveler, Dr. Datta has visited over 75 countries. Today, we have with us Dr. Datta, who will be addressing the Bombay Management Association members on the Brexit Revisited. So I welcome Dr. Datta and all the members today who are present. And I request Dr. Datta to start his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. What a long, dynamic, very interesting introduction you have provided about me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And at the outset, I would like to, let me see, can you see my slides or can you hear me? Am I audible? So slides are okay?
Sir, we can see if you can make it in the slideshow format.
Oh, okay, let me see how I can make it okay. Is it better now? I hope this is okay. At the outset, I would like to convey my special gratitude to the Bombay Management Association for inviting me to join this, what a grand the seminar program, master class. And they have given me a choice to find out my own topic. And I thought that why not I speak about something which is very close to me. And I have witnessed the saga of Brexit for the last 5-6 years in the UK and in the continent. And as I also wrote a book, as she mentioned, co-authored with 2 others. Unfortunately, one of our co-authors, Martin Jones, he's no more with us. He just passed away on 28th of June. So I'll be speaking about Brexit. I felt that this is one of the most the famous household word in the world, especially in the UK and Europe, and then beyond. So the topic you can see, revisited Brexit in microscopic perspective. I don't know whether I'll be able to bring the microscopic elements or the scenarios about Brexit, but what I'll be talking today, this is nothing that you have heard from mainstream media, or maybe politicians, or maybe economists, or maybe the top academics, professor from Oxford or Cambridge. This is just a simple layman, ordinary personal views and my own experience, what I felt and what's happened during last 5 years. Especially, I would like to state at this stage that my presentation today is not based on any scientific inquiry. It is not based on any empirical research. Rather, this is based on my own observation, my personal reflection, talking to the people, watching the mainstream medias, listening the top politician, economists, reading many articles written by top prominent, eminent academics from St. Andrews, Harvard, even the Oxford and Cambridge. And I felt frustrated. I think this will be the 16th lecture series on Brexit issues. I just did another lectures on Brexit issue and the post-Brexit phenomenon recently at the British University in Cairo. So let's talk how I'm going to organize my presentation today. My presentation is organized based on 3 specific sections. First section, I'm going to look at some of the evolutionary patterns of Brexit, how it started, what's happened after the post-Second World War and until 2016, and subsequent some of the events that took place on the British soil. Then my second part is going to focus on post-Brexit dilemma, what lesson we have learned. There are many lessons we have learned, but I would like to bring my own personal perspective, looking at only 5 specific lessons that I felt that it is very important to share with each and every one, because we all are bombarded with mainstream media, politicians and economists and top academics, because we are asking today nowadays that what is the credibility or source of credibility? And we don't see whether there is actually any credibility or on the ground. And my third part of my discussion is going to focus on my personal reflection about the book, why we decided to write this book and bring this book into publication. So with that, I'm going to finish today's presentation. I'll try my best to finish my presentation within the next 45 minutes so that I'll have some room to take some questions and reflect on those. I felt since the Second World War, I have witnessed one of the most seismic events in the history of politics that took place back 1989, when I saw front of my eyes the whole Soviet Union just broke into pieces. The reintegration of Soviet Union and the resurgence of globalization, that was the first era I feel is one of the most important and salient event in the history of the world. I'll not talk about it, but I felt that since 1945, when you talk about European politics, European economics, European integrations, or European public debate on politics, economics, and social atmosphere, I felt that Brexit was one of the most seismic political events. Theresa May, when she came to the power, I remember that was 16th, 17th of July, she said, 17th of July 1916, that enough is enough. Brexit means Brexit. The people have given their verdict. We must respect the democratic verdict. But it's not that so easy. It's become so complex. The most ambiguous political philosophy in the continent. Now, the whole public in the UK, even in Europe, they're divided so positively and negatively, even sometimes a mental agony, even sometimes I have seen, and you have maybe witnessed, some physical abuse. The people come up to that stage because in many years, the Europe and UK politically, publics were so quiet. It was the stagnant in political situations. I felt that people got something to talk about it. The mainstream media, they wanted to say something what they like. The top politician, they're divided. Academics, the professors, the researchers, the intellectuals, so-called pseudo-intellectual, they wanted to say something what they would like to say, and people wanted to hear because they all are protecting their own interest. So I felt that Brexit has become one of the most common, the household word. Everyone knows Brexit, but they don't know what does it mean. How that Brexit brought the pure democracy and the beauty of national sovereignty to close to the heart of the public, that is not clearly known to many people. Because the world we are living in, the most uncertain, most ambiguous, and most volatile. Because of mainstream media, the political outcry, the economic interest, everything are just measured and quantified by economic terms. That's why our thoughts, our minds, our orientations, our beauty, our democracy, everything we are measuring economic terms. That's why we don't see what is reality and what is not a reality. Let's talk about part one. Will the world continue to turn? Now, why I put that way, because I saw, you know that, Joe Cox murder. The Joe Cox, the member of parliament, she gave her life. She was murdered. She was killed because of this Brexit chaos. Recently, another Brexiteer, who was a pro-Brexiteer, was murdered by ISI just last week. I'm sure that you know that. Is Conservative MP. And everyone, the time you wake up from your bed, you read, you watch, you listen, people talk, the chaotic discussions. They talk the way you will not understand the truth. The politicians, the economists, the professors, even I read many articles written by Oxford and Cambridge professors, you will not understand what they are writing. Because they don't want to say the right, because their interest on research and research fund should be protected. So they wanted to say how or the way the research fund will be protected and they are benefited. Let's see what people said that will not be better off, or will have serious problem, will have the consequences, we are going to collapse. I was just thinking the British Empire that was conquered substantially the whole part of the world. They ruled the substantial part of the world. How the people in British land can say we cannot stand on our feet without European unifications. Look back 1942. You all know Marshall Plan. You know what's happened during the Second World War. Devastating situation throughout Europe. Economically, politically, socially, everyone really in state of disappointment, state of agony, state of pain. Marshall Plan came into effect to restructure, to revamp, to foster and nurture the economic outflow, inflow throughout Europe. And that was the time when the French army officer who led the that resistance against Germany talked about European wide union. followed by Winston Churchill, who talked about United European States, United States of Europe. Same way, the United States of America. So we can see the unification, but that unification not started after the Second World War. We can go back 16th century, 17th centuries, when we have seen that many English Quakers started the movement of pan-European, movement. But what we see, the current EU started back in 1942. End of 1949, we have seen Council for Europe. The first custom union started Benelux. That was 1948, and you know all this. You know that the formation of World Bank, the International Bank for Reconstruction Development, IMF, the later stage World Bank, and then moved to other international the institutions. But within European, the continent, we have seen the process of unifications. So now, within 5 years, means after the Second World War, 1949, we have seen first Council for Europe that started with 10, the member state, and now it has 47 member states. Then we have seen coal union. I'll not go through all these things, but what we have seen through coal and European Economic Community, first time UK wanted to enter into Europe, 1961, and now 2020. In just 60 years, the whole landscape of Europe has been changed dramatically. 60 years is a long time. In terms of history, maybe not long, but in terms of the development nowadays, you can see the globalization, technological advancement, internet, and so on, and mindset of the people, it is huge. So that time, the UK membership application been rejected because of France. And we know that hundreds of years, there is a clash of civilization, the clash of cultural civilization in Europe between France, Germany, and UK, and many parts of other European countries even started huge ethnic cleansing. So we never ever seen that type of unification among member states. That was rejected. But then after 12 years in 1973, as part of the European Economic Community enlargement, UK entered into the club, that family. But then 1975, we have seen again the first referendum took place in the UK. Just wanted to see whether the UK would like to continue with that membership or they would like to just leave the membership. But that time, less than 70% people voted. Turnaround was the 70%, but more than 2/3 people voted to continue with the European Union. But since then, we have seen.
Doctor, the
Yes?
slide is on the first one. Are you referring to the further slides?
Oh, yes. You can't see
no,
that.
but it's
okay.
not moving then.
Okay, let me see how I can. Okay, let me end slides, and I'm going to. Can you see now?
Yes, it's part one.
Okay, let me put it that
90-50.
way. Let me put it that way. I think it's better. You know, when I put it the different mode, I really don't understand how to move it.
I will share the slides if you don't mind.
Oh, please do so. Let me stop. That will be good. So if you can, if you can move to the next slide. So what I'm talking about, that since 1973, and then first referendum that took place 1975 until 2012, 13, 14, 15, we have seen an autocratic movement, a loss of sovereignty, a loss of identity, a loss of democratic participation by UK. Because you know that the UK, for the history of 1500 years, they had a great role in the politics of the world, in the economic activity of the world. But since they joined, steadily and slowly, they lost that identification. They lost that sovereignty. They lost that economic power because all the laws, regulations, the political powers, authority, even accountability, all concentrated within or around the European Union. So we have seen the final push to make the European Union bigger and a bigger project. I think this is one of the biggest projects in the world to make unifications. That was 1992, Maastricht Treaty, the Rome Treaty. that brought the concept of the common European Union. So what you see now, EU, and then 1999, their aspirations to make it much bigger, a political union, from a shift from economic union to make it European common currency. I'm so pleased that UK never ever entered or joined the common currency movement. And all this disappointment and the problems that brought the idea by UK population, UK publics and politicians to give the referendum. And what's the consequences, the outcome? That was 23rd of June, 1916, when the majority, I think that was 17.4 million people voted to leave the club immediately. Means the Brexit. The word Brexit is quite interesting. I was just watching other day one of his lecture at LSE. He said, I did mistake. That was one of the lawyers. I can't just recall the name, who said that it was a mistake when I wrote a piece of article in The Economist about Brexit. That was the first time he coined the word Brexit, that this is the time we have to look at that UK must bring the better sovereignty or better outcome or role. But he said, I never thought that UK is going to come out from European Union. And finally, the 1st of January, 31st of January, UK came out from European Union. So that's the evolutionary pattern. You can see the way they have started as a small scale project. I think the small scale project that time, 1942 or even 1973, was good. I always believe small is beautiful because God of small things. But when you become too big, you become more powerful. When you become more powerful, then you don't look at actual people's mindset, the people's heart. You look at the way you can become so big. I think that is echoed the word made by one of the greatest German, German philosopher and the economist, Schumpeter. The small is beauty. When he actually started a special movement against all multinationals. And I think the same things echoed. Can you move to the next slide, please? So that's the time, 1975. That was the first time the UK gone for a referendum in connection to the Brexit, in connection to the UK, whether they would like to stay in Europe or not. Second time it's happened 1961. Now, that time, 1975, the 2/3 of UK population voted to continue, because that was just 2 years after their, they joined in Europe. So that time they didn't get so much the problem. The problem started after 80s, especially the most of the problems started after the reintegration of Soviet Union, because you understand, and many people will not admit that. If you follow the US academics, US politicians, CNN, BBC, Sky, or other mainstream, the media, they will not talk. They'll talk the European Union was one of the greatest projects, but that project started in order to encounter, in order to protect their own, the interest against Soviet Union, because they wanted to see the Soviet Union should be disintegrated. That is another discussion we can talk in political terms. So what's happened that time? The people wanted to stay in Europe. Can you move? Second, please. Next slide. Professor, yes. So first time election, so 2/3 voted to stay, but then second time, 2016, 23rd of June, the slight majority, even 1.3 million people, population, more than the actual population. So means 17.4 million population said, we must leave. We must leave. Please move on next. I think, okay. So now the time the announcement happened, the time the UK public given the verdict, we cannot stay with the joint family. And I'm sure that you understand the the phenomenon living in a joint family, while there are so much advantages in terms of, that empathy, in terms of our love, affections, the relationships, and so on, but same times we have many problems. Especially, I'm not talking about the joint family style in India or Asian subcontinent. We have the long history. While the whole Europe, they had the long history of fighting, the cultural clashes, the political problems, the economic problems. How, after the Second World War, they become one, the good family, a humble family, a nice family. It is not possible. The time the concept of globalization started to emerge in European soil after the disintegration of Soviet Union, I have seen what's happened in Moscow. I have witnessed when Ronald Reagan came to Moscow that day vividly and met with Gorbachev. And after that, the many interviews with CNN, what Gorbachev said and what Ronald Reagan said, they waited for that moment in Reykjavik, that Iceland, to have that summit and to see a giant, mighty Soviet Union collapse. Now, if the Soviet Union collapses, how we can say that European Union, where there is so much problem, it can stay? There's no way. Soviet Union collapsed, and I can tell you, this is not I have to tell you, because I don't want to say something without any evidence, but the socio-political and economic events will tell you very soon the whole Europe will have serious problems. 142% debt of their GDP in Greece. Many European countries, they have the debt more than 150, even some cases, some countries, nearly 200% debt. How you can imagine? Chanukya philosophy, one of the greatest problems you can have if you have debt. And whole European country, they are part of the debt phenomenon. No country has less than 50-60% debt. How this country is going to sustain for long term? So this time we have seen when many people came forward and they are talking about Brexit cannot be sustained. Even do you know that when you see even Russia don't do anything with USA, but USA, all the media will accuse Russia. They are attacking the Western democracy. But when George Soros, the American billionaire who invested £500,000 to stop Brexit, no media will talk anything. Why is that agony? Do you think the world belongs to Europe and US? Not at all. More than 200 democracies in the world. I'm stating that. I'm stating that people don't like me. Many people say we are protecting certain interests, but this is not a question of interest. Let us come to the term. Let us come to the reality. Don't judge everything based on monetary value. I was watching just yesterday one of the documentary, based on University of Harvard, Oxford, and Cambridge, the highest number of sexual claims among students and tutors happening within those best universities. Sometimes I'm just thinking what these best universities are teaching to their students. Is there any ethical consensus? The big corporate giants, why they are collapsing? If there is an ethical education within the top universities, why top multinationals collapsing overnight? Why they don't follow all these ethical dimensions within the organizations? It's echoed me, that I met a long time back one of the great Indian scholar at London Business School, that Shamanto, Professor, what's his name? I think Shamanto Ghoshal. And one of his articles, he actually attacked all these top, the biggest, and how you can say, the best institution around the world, that they have failed to teach the moral educations among students. And that is the question of morality nowadays. Anything you watch, anything you listen, you'll see we are derailing the whole public's opinions. And I'm sure that some of you may know what's happened on Thames. Even They just avoid a physical abuse, the fight on Thames on fishing issues. So the professor, if you can move to next. I'm just trying to give you what's happened during in the post-Brexit era. Now, what was the argument for people who wanted to come out from European Union? Even the argument is also mine. I am an immigrant. I am a poor immigrant, came to UK with just 100 pounds, just 100 pounds. And for the last 32 years, I struggled. And I like to face challenges because I always felt that problems are really good. My grandma used to say, if you don't have problems, why not create some problems? Because that is the only way you can become more creative. You can find out more opportunities and more innovative approaches. Think about the COVID brought so much innovation to all of us. The whole education system, whole academia has changed dramatically. Many institutions that could not adapt the changes, they become the victim of natural selections. The Charles Darwin was right. Change must continue. So I felt there are many reasons, but 5 most important reasons I felt. One is that European Union becomes so giant, they become so autocratic. First, they are not elected representative. Second, they become so powerful, so much authority, but lack of responsibilities, lack of accountability. So UK, they lost its sovereignty. Now, when we talk about sovereignty, we talk about the population, we talk about the territory, we talk about the authority, and we talk about the recognition. Now, there's 4 pillars of the sovereignty. Now, I felt all these 4 pillars are lost in the UK context. Now, in terms of authority, they lost. Since they have joined in 1973, they lost the political power, they lost the economic power, they lost the diplomatic power, they lost social power. In terms of laws and regulations, everything controlled, navigated, and ruled by the common union, European Union. Even I have seen the number of the top-ranking terrorists could not be kicked out from UK because of European laws, because of human rights laws. And sometimes laughing at me, we talk about human rights, but it seems no politicians, no intellectuals, no academics talk about the human wrongs. So do you think that we have a right to do wrong? No problem at all. But it has to be judged by the society. So UK lost it, and that was one of the problems. The UK public thought that we are losing our identity. Who am I? That is the solid questions to everyone. If I lost my identity, if I lost my own brand, if I lost my own power and authority, what's the point of having the Great Britain? I don't have power to rule. I don't have power to, bring my own economy. Think about that. UK would like to do a trade deal with India. They can't do it because they must go through European Union. UK would like to do a special free trade agreement with USA. They can't do it because European Union is going to do on behalf of the member states. Second reason, the EU suffocates the UK with regulations and restrictions. That's true. That hundreds of rules and regulations governed by EU. And UK as a member state, you have very less amount of power, less amount of authority, less amount of responsibility, and less amount of accountability to implement, to bring the rules and regulations. And third point was 1999, the euro is disaster for EU. I felt that way. The trade deficit between countries become so huge. The EU accept far too many immigrants. Yes. Do you know how many Europeans came to the UK since 1991? 3.8 million people. And UK had only 50 million of population back 1960s. Now, the last year, they have over 68 million population. It's a small island. So UK could not. It is the part of the free movements of goods and services and free movements of populations. Demographic landscapes are changing so dramatically throughout Europe because the UK has the better opportunities to get the social benefits and employment. People tend to come, and it seems that you become so corrosive, you become so politically correct that you can't say anything against anyone. If you say against anyone, it will become part of a racial hatred. If you say against anyone, it will become part of against EU, the mantras. So the society becomes so sensitive, that I can't believe it. You can't say anything. Even you can't eat the way you would like to eat. You can't walk on the street the way you would like to walk. You can't sing the way you would like to sing. Why the societies become so corrosive and negative? And that's some of the reasons why the UK wanted to leave. Ma'am, if you can just move on next slide, Professor. Now, this is some snapshot. As I said, I am not going to give any empirical research. This is just my own thoughts, and I wanted to share to you. Even many of you have the fantastic idea about Brexit, but I wanted to draw some attention to what's happened behind the banner, what people didn't say. If you look at the trade volume with EU countries and non-EU countries, you can see EU main countries 38%, and the rest of the world 33%. That is the pre-Brexit, that was in 2020. But now, so even if you look at the pre-Brexit, the most of the trading with EU countries was the same, because there's a rollover agreement. Means any trade agreement you have under EU, all these agreements are converted automatically to UK and the respective countries. So I see that one of the non-EU countries, that is US, has the highest the trade volume with UK. Even if you look at the India is not here, but India is the 10th largest country in terms of export for UK, and the 6th largest country in terms of export. I think 10th largest country for India to UK export, and for UK is the 6th largest country. So we are not talking about India. We are not talking about Australia. We are not talking about US. We are not talking about other countries such as China. We always become so much focused on EU, and EU. Now think about it. EU has 500 million of populations. Combined, India and China, they have 2.5 billion populations. Why people don't talk about it? Is it because of the consumption patterns? Because the mainstream politicians, because the mainstream academics and so-called intellectuals, they have their own vested interest if the European family can be lived together. If you can move to next 2 slides, I would like to just flip through quickly. This is again, it's showing the UK's top trading partners in 2020. Now, if you look at the EU, so what is happening? UK imported more products than export. That's why there is a deficit of balance. The deficit of 79 billion. So why we are talking about EU? And that was the same scenario, the deficit always for the last 15, 20 years. The UK never had the positive or surplus trading with EU in terms of export and import. Rather, non-EU countries, they had balanced, the positive balance. So that positive balance always upset against EU, the negative balance. So you can see the very nice. Still, when you talk about the worldwide, the trading volume and balance, we can see still deficit. Now, if you can move to the next slide, I just wanted to. So this is also showing the same scenarios in terms of goods and services between EU and US. That's what I wanted to show as a snapshot. If you can move to next slide. So I talked about negativity. There is a no fear project. The project of Brexit is a nice project. a beautiful project, a democratic project, a sovereign project, a wonderful peace of mind. The way you wake up in the morning, walking on the street, surrounded with natural, the trees and the birds are singing, that is the same project of Brexit. Only the people who has the vested interest, they talked something different. I would like to talk here, what's happened? We are now out, 31st of January, that was the day of independence for UK. But I think that many people, they think 23rd of June 2016. Are we better off? We are fantastic. We are fine. We feel now different. Identity is sacred. I wanted to just look at some of the lessons we learned from Brexit. I felt identity. Who am I? We are British, and I'm so pleased that after so many years, I have just received last month my British passport. Many years I was using my European passport. I have two passports, obviously. One is Bangladeshi passport, one is British. I love both. I belong to two nations. There's no problem at all. I have two different identities. I act different way. My mindset cannot be changed even I'm living here another 50 years. I hope, but I'll not be. Our biggest problem in today's world, the identity clash. We don't know who we are. The time we don't know who we are, everything is followed, is becoming chaotic. Irrespective you are individual, irrespective you are organization, a community, a state, a nation, or identity of the world. We all must bear that. And this is one of the most beautiful things, that you must have that identity. Don't lose your authority. Don't lose your recognition. Don't lose your territory and your own personal freedom. Acceptance is part of moving on. I think, I learned a very interesting thing. One of the greatest epic in the world is Mahabharata. One of the greatest in the scripture in the world, I feel, is Bhagavad Gita. What it says about death, many people, we cannot accept many things. I felt many millions of UK people and Europeans could not accept the democratic verdict. 800 years back in the UK soil, we have seen that most democratic, the testament of Magna Carta. How we can forget about it? That Magna Carta style democratic formula applied throughout the world, not US style. I have a problem with US style. But democracy, the core elements are beautiful. Beautiful like you, like as individual, but people are making them. I feel the power of acceptance. The time you accept the reality, you are better off. There's a less pain, less arrogance, less ego, and you will have more beautiful insight, beautiful relationship, beautiful communication. You can mingle with anybody with fantastic and nicely. And we have seen a lot of anti-democratic activities within the democracy. I like democracy, but I don't like 100% democracy. This is curse for human being. I can see what is happening in open society. Too much, everything, that when you have access of everything, excessive things is becoming as boomerang for the society. Now, we talk about democracy, but why there's the violent anti-democratic forces are active? People always talk about cost. Everything in the society are judged by money. So if everything is judged by money, then why we are talking about democracy, about beauty, about peace, about happiness? Talk only about pleasure. Everything. I can't believe it. Even the child and mother relationship based on money. The political, the duty and obligation towards the society based on money. The university teaching the business courses based on money. They are teaching how you can make money for the organization. They're teaching how you can make organization better, economically better, not morally better. I'm so sad to see that. Everyone in the society, we are failing. We cannot put a price on freedom. The freedom cannot be judged on economic term. Professor, if you can move to next slide. Yes, I think the three most important, the story until Brexit. I'll go through quickly. I think some of the slides I'm to flip through. One of the most important thing is that that EU, since the trade patterns, the UK could not do anything internally and externally, because internally they are conditioned by European Union, and externally they cannot do any trade with external organizations or the many countries because of EU restriction. Secondly, we have seen for the last 2 decades the rise of Asia, especially India and China and other parts of subcontinent, and we have seen the South Sea fall and production decreased, means the UK, the net energy export become the UK net energy import. So means UK become energy importer than energy exporter. So UK policies in terms of economic, social, in terms of political and laws are not well aligned with the EU policies. That was the clash of between these two family members, the giant EU and a sovereign state of UK. So if I can move to next slide, please. I think next slides, I think that's what I'm going to do now. Because of this, the trading relationship, you can see why the Brexit happens. I think so I'm going to skip that slide. I'd like to move to the next slide, which is some of the professor, if you can move to next slide. There are some points. I'm just detouring my time. Yes, now there's a 3 slides I wanted to show quickly here. Just see, this is a recent the survey. It's taken by NetChan Social Research, the 8th of April. What they found, they asked a simple question: do you think the UK's trade with the EU has improved or worsened? And I'm sure that you can guess the results should be worsened, and this is acceptable. I think this is any countries. There's a transitional period, there is a shock, there is a little panic, and there's a lot of things need to be revisited, need to be readjusted. Therefore, the question should not be asked that manner, because answer already known to us. So majority people said, yes, the situation is going to worsen. And I can see that why they responded, it is not the case. It is not that doom and gloom. It just a little bit need readjustment. Next question they ask, do you regret the way you voted in the 2016 EU referendum? No. No, do you regret the way you voted in the 2000? So what's happened? The people said no. The over 80%. Can you see now even their, you know, that the opinion are changing so dramatically. People felt a sense of joy. People felt a sense of democratic movement, a sense of freedom. They feel no, they have done the right things. Professor, next slide. Another a small the questions. Next slide. Yes, if you can move to. So this is another. In hindsight, do you think the UK was right or wrong? And many people said they were right. So this is all about Brexit. Let's move to our third part of my discussion. Why we wrote a book. I think so I'm going to finish within 10 minutes. Then you will have some time to ask me questions. Now the book is We Are Doomed. I think so you can feel what we have discussed now. We are not actually doomed. It is not so bad about Brexit. It is not so much fear about Brexit. This is so much freedom. That is so much beauty. This is so much happiness. So the environment is not so gloom. It's not so gloomy. It's not so the bad. But we are revisiting. We are telling the people what you didn't hear so far from mainstream media, from top individuals, including politicians and intellectuals. Read some articles written by top professors at Oxford and Cambridge. You can believe it. At the end of the day, everyone, we are trying to protect our economic interest, not the social interest. If you can move to next. Why this book is important for us? I think this book seeks to explain something of how they came to join and what was then happened within the economic area. This book is based on our reflection, our observations, that there's so much agony happened, we have seen during pre-Brexit and post-Brexit. So we didn't talk what people said. We just talked what we have seen, what we have observed. The book is based on the different short stories, short reflection, short observation, even sometimes Facebook post or publishing in some newspapers. That short stories and reflection that based on 1916 until 2000. So it's around 5 years of observations and reflections. That's why I felt, and this reflection not based on one person. It can be bias or can be duplication or can be fabrication. I feel as a writer, you have the social obligation. We can't duplicate things. We can't fabricate things. We cannot tamper data or the information or reflection of what people are trying to say. So 3 people, different opinion. As I said, Mark Thomas Jones, one of the highly regarded international speakers and the writer, and many of his books was the best-selling books worldwide. He unfortunately passed away on 28th of June. And so we thought, that 5 years back, write something. And we just looked, 3 of us, we just monitored, scanned what is happening every day. And that was the culmination of our 5 years observation and reflection. So we just captured some of the moments which we felt is important for the readers. So far, this book had over 20,000 read, which is really quite interesting, and many comments and media attention in the UK. So, Professor, if you can move next. So, what we wanted to say, Brexit has come to mean in different, Brexit is different things for different people. It seems that whole populations become confused and didn't understand. Because the time you woke up, all these BBC, they're continuously talking anti-Brexit, episodes. The CNN, the Fox, the Sky, everyone is talking Brexit. So people are really confused. They don't know what is happening. No one is talking, even the politician, whether it is Conservative Party or Labour Party, that the way they are speaking about the figures, how much money they are paying for the European membership is completely confused. So they don't want to say the truth, but they say the way that people get confused. It's very interesting that you can say the thing such a way you will feel, oh, they're right, but actually they are not saying the right things. So it gives some, let's move to the next slide, please. Yes. It gives us some fresh perspective, some different perspective. It challenges the received wisdom, and which we felt that sometimes the crowd of wisdom is much better than a crowd of single individuals. Wisdom of single individual. So the views on Brexit are a bit confusing. Yes, it is. There are challenges. There are some negativities, but we are looking this project in different way because the people need to get their democracy and freedoms. And what the problem, social problem and economic problems we have seen for the last few years that should be solved and addressed. And there's only one way you can address, that is by changing or by divorcing the EU status from European Union and offering the Brexit opportunities. Please, if you can move to next. So biggest challenge we are facing is the mainstream media. Yes, I think I have said that, because what they are passing or rumor, all these are doubt and suspiciousness. In other words, they say Brexit is a negative and hence they only select negative views. There's a more cheerful, that I feel that the book you just read 3 different perspectives and the different stories. I think there are 97 stories in the book. They talk the people's views. They are very close to different publics. The publics from UK to Denmark, to Zurich, to Netherlands, to Paris, to Berlin or Bonn. So what people think. I think the politicians sometimes don't take cognizance or don't take consideration of the public's views. That's why I feel this is somehow the book is unique, because we are not talking about a political ideology. We don't say whether Brexit is good or Brexit is bad. We are not promoting any specific the side of the coin. What we are trying to say, we are bringing the stories of the people. So let the readers to understand whether stories of the people are the right stories, or the stories bringing by mainstream media or politicians or academics, because you always feel they're the most credible source, they're the right stories. Please, if you can move next. I think so I'm coming to close. In 3 minutes, I'll be finishing. I'm also not going to go through this. Let's move follow next slide. I think 2 or 3 more slides. That's okay. As I said, this is not a political book. I would like to mention one of the comments here, the Warren Matthew, because Warren Matthew is one of the prominent professor from Belhaven University, and he did a fantastic project with that professor who did receive 2 years back. Was it 2 years? Yes, 2 years back, the Nobel Prize in terms of in economics. So he read this book, and he attended actually one of our conferences at the University of Oxford. I read more than 30 books on Brexit. However, among all these books, we are doomed. Brexit Revisited provides the most insightful and flavor of the referendum process from the campaign to the vote. 2018, we talked together at the University of Oxford, and I felt that some academics become so much furious with us. I can't believe it. Academics, they don't fight what is right or wrong. They fight only what is right. The academics should not favor of any political things when you're talking about the academia. We should bring the right things to the public. So that just I wanted to read this comment. If you can move to the next slide. So what is the concluding remarks for me? Brexit is not the end. It is just beginning. It is important that we all individuals, as a member of society, the politicians, the academics, the historian, the artist, anyone part of the society must play our part and contribute our ideas, and where possible, seek or build the relationships. Accept the reality, because Brexit, what we have seen, this is just a single project. Many projects like that should follow. And just I'm giving the 20 years, and we'll see the reality, what is going to happen in Europe. The time is the best God. The time will tell us the way we should forward. Thank you, audience. I'm so pleased that it was just 1 hour. I have just finished. If you have any questions, please, I'm happy to take for the next 15, maybe make some 20.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Datta, for very different story of Brexit. The Brexit was discussed all over the world with different perspective, and you have given totally different perspective. Before we take up some comments and some questions, I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And also I want to thank Dr. Srinivasan Iyengar, who is the new director for Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies, who has been instrumental in inviting Dr. Datta for this. So thank you, Dr. Srinivasan, for bringing Dr. Datta to BMA. And
it's so great you invited.
Professor Srini is there. Hi, Professor Srini. Please accept the heartiest and sincere congratulations. That is one of the most dynamic, I must use the word dynamic and genius individual I have seen, such a young age, and the way he's contributing to the academia. Well done, Professor Srinivasan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for accepting. I thank Lagate ma'am, always kind enough to accept that, and she's absolutely making initiative every week. I really wonder where she get participants to do that program, and even turbulent time of COVID lockdown, I'm sure she must be organized close to 2 dozens of programs last 3 months. And all the speakers are wonderful, amazing sessions in BMA Madam initiative. Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, sir, for accepting the invite.
Dr. Srinivasan, thank you. And Sir, before we get comments, I would like to compliment you on this book, because you have given totally different perspective. It's not about economic or political. It is more cultural and social angle that you have seen in the Brexit. I'm sure this book will be welcomed by all, because it is giving very new insights. So, is my understanding correct that you are talking about the Brexit, which is not only the democracy which was started, or which we see as a world, that Great Britain had been a very democratic society, and the people's opinion is giving a lot of importance, is given lot of importance in this particular decision of Brexit. And now the results are after some time, maybe this time is not enough to make the judgment, but then your research is also indicating the similar kind of thing.
That's right. That's right, Professor. You are right. You know that I personally was shocked. I didn't want to see the Soviet Union collapse, because if you look back the history for the last 100 years, since 1917 revolutions, you can see the US and the European, the communities, the European countries, the way they wanted to see or stop Soviet Union. I'm just thinking how it is possible that the project can be sustained for longer term. You can see what is happening in France, what is happening in Poland now. There's a huge demonstration against European, the policies. What is happening in Hungary? So, but the problem is that the society, it seems that they are so reminiscent that they don't try to understand the actual reality. So my projection is that the project cannot be sustained, and the people must think, rethink beyond their own thinking capacity.
Yeah, thank you. In India, as you are aware, that we are a very multilingual, multicultural society, and so is Europe as a continent. Germany, France, and other countries in Europe also depict the similar diversity as we have. And do you think that supremacy or the upper hand that Britain had for all these centuries has played this game of Brexit?
Professor, you are asking me such a interesting, very important, and difficult questions. I'm not the person within the politics, even within the historical perspective, but I personally, based on my own knowledge and experience and understanding, the way I see the world, I don't bring any parallel between the EU and India, between EU and USA, because the European project was not, it is a planned project. It is not by an accident. It is a planned project. Planned project. If you look at the kinds, the economic goals or objectives, I'm sure that there are many economists here. The 5 economic objectives proposed by Keynes, I felt these are never ever implemented. And we are talking the father of that the capitalist economic thoughts. The whole European project, the whole social project, that social dimension, what we see in the UK and Europe, that you are getting the social benefits, the people are fully, that protected by the nation. That project was because of Soviet Union. They wanted to see a parallel project, but same time they wanted to see the Soviet Union is collapsed, so that they can, whatever the project. Now, if you look at that 1945 project of social economy in the UK, that social project, NHS, and so on, that is just to encounter, or maybe that due to the special competition with Soviet Union, they have started. So European project, that was the planned wise, to make it parallel with Soviet Union. At the same time, the Europe and the West, they tried to make sure that Soviet project is not successful. I'm sure that many of you remember when Winston Churchill, he said during the wartime, that US giving money, the UK is giving intellect, and the Russia is giving blood. So you understand the tone that time, what is trying to mean. So European project is completely non-sustainable project in that sense, even though the 500 millions, the many languages, but the mindsets are different. Mindsets are different because the mindsets are based on the many wars, many ethnic lynchings, many problems here. You know, our problems are different. I remember that one of the academics from India, when he said that if I walk down in Indian roads, I see hundreds of opportunities. You put your eyes even into a dustbin, there is an opportunity. Opportunity everywhere. But UK opportunities becoming, or Europe, the opportunities for normal publics is becoming very less and less. And many people in Europe, they're trying to become more lazy than active. In India, if you give the people job, they're happy to do the job. In the UK, it's opposite. You give them thousands of people job, they don't want to do the job. They would like to stay at home, get the money from government, and get the housing from government. Can you see that parallel situation in India, in Bangladesh, in other parts of Asia? No. So European, I'm saying, it has a different mindset and different way they developed. And it is not possible for them to sustain.
Okay, I will request the participants to keep the videos on for some time so that we can have the memory of this session. And I will request if you have any question, you can raise the hand or you can type it in the chat box. In the meantime, our former president, Professor Ernest Fernandez, is here in this meeting. I will request him to give his comments and also ask if he has any question. Fernandez, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Lagate. The question I have to ask Dr. Datta is that do you think the Soviet Union, the disintegration of the Soviet Union had a negative effect on the world? Because that's a very debatable question. Because the whole system of the Soviet Union was based on certain structures and values, which with the growth of enlightened, with the media growth and so on, people may not have accepted that system. So I would like your views on what you thought about the disintegration of the Soviet Union.
Thank you, sir. I think, this is, I think, one of the most salient questions we can see. Recently, 2 years back, 2019, BBC, they have produced a fantastic documentary. If I can get the link, I can send it, Professor Lagate. Please have a look. This is just 1 hour documentary about Marxist, the capital. They realize the world is becoming so much rotten and corrosive. The so-called current capitalism cannot sustain many more years. And this is the time to look back and revisit the capital and revisit the socialist, the infrastructure of economy, the society, and so on. Just food for thought. Now, your questions, I'm coming back. The Soviet Union, they have had the different types of economy. One thing I would like to touch here. Now, during Soviet Union, we haven't seen any types of problems what we are facing now. The last week, a conservative MP was murdered by IS members. And a few years back, another member of parliament murdered by, again, the terrorist. The concept of terrorism is not within the community, within the society. I think that terrorism is everywhere now. Even a few years back, I termed the word the academic terrorism, the North-South divide. We are talking about the research. But I think that point I'll come back later on. I think that de-integration brought so much chaos and so much problems throughout the world. One is that the surge of terrorism everywhere now. My time during that Soviet Union 7 years, that was the most happiest time, peaceful time. And some of the words was non-existent in Russian or Soviet dictionary, such as crimes, such as knife crimes, such as mugging, such as raping. These are the things was known. When you talk about the social enterprises or social problems, some of the social issues was not actually the problem. The whole society, and if you look at that, what Gorbachev said, that's the day after the de-integration of Soviet Union, he said in response to one of the CNN journalists, I have been waiting 3 years for the day. So what does it mean? Why Gorbachev given a Nobel Prize? I think some of the questions he's asking, is becoming so prominent to all of us. First, my observation is that during Soviet Union, the life was different. Yes, there may be a problem. Any society, any ideology, whether it is political ideology or religious ideology, whatever it is, we must have problems. Without problems having an ideological status, it's not really good, and we cannot claim that. But if there are problems, if there are challenges, we must challenge that. But the Soviet project is not collapsed because of the Soviet publics. That was the wide international conspiracy by US. I think everybody knows about it, by US and whole Europe. You must ask yourself why UK introduced the that social infrastructure. That was only existed in Soviet Union, that everyone should get, unemployed people should get the benefits they have introduced. Then all other European community followed. So therefore, I felt that the de-integration was, I think Gorbachev mentioned many times, that's the biggest mistake I have done in my whole life. The glasnost and perestroika was the good concept, but the Western media, Western politicians, what they have been waiting for that, they took the glasnost and perestroika wrongly. Their intention was just collapse. The time 89, I was there. The World Bank, the way they jumped with the shock therapy. Shock therapy was not appropriate for Russian economy at that time, and that done by World Bank. I'm so sorry that if I had more time, I could talk some of the projects taken by World Bank and how they have created the differences and gap within the society between rich and poor. So, Professor, I hope that in a short, I could address your point.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you, Professor Datta. I know you have some assignment at 6:15.
Yeah, I can
so
have
we are
7 minutes. Yes.
Yes. So we are able to finish. I thank you for taking time out in spite of your busy schedule and given us a perspective of the Brexit, a new perspective that we can hear. And thank you for accepting our invitation to be part of the Bombay Management Association. And
Thank you, Professor. Again, I wanted to say a big thank to you, to your team, and especially the Bombay Management Association. I know that the tremendous work and an excellent work you have been doing, and contributing to the society. I think this is the time that some institutions, some organizations, some individuals give back something to the society where the people can benefit right away. And I was just looking at your website, some of the interesting things you are doing. Please continue doing the way you are doing now. Again, my gratitude to all the team members. My special thanks, I must say, special thanks to Professor Srini. I know that we always have been communicating in different issues, and for recommending me, and so that you could invite me to come here. It was my great honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And obviously, I must also say thank you to all of you who attended, listened, that very carefully and calmly, quietly. This is one of the hardest tasks to follow someone. Thank you so much. Without you, I could not say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This session will be available on YouTube also in some time. Others can review and recommend to our members as well as non-members of Bombay Management Association. As you all know, every Wednesday and every Friday, we come up with very interesting topics. Today, in Wednesday Wisdom webinar, a Bombay Management Association Masterclass, we had Dr. Partho Datta. Friday is another interesting topic, which is about well-being. A company called as Joygraphy is going to showcase their interesting product, which will tell us about our well-being and our happiness in life. Do join us on Friday at 5 o'clock for listening to Joygraphy and get yourself tested for the joy and the well-being level that you are at. Thank you very much for joining, and
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. काय जाऊन आले का? काय म्हण?